Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar on executive branding, dominating your digital presence through LinkedIn. We're going to give everyone a chance to get here and log in before we start, so you can grab your water or your coffee, and we'll just begin in just a minute. During the webinar today, we'll be conducting a poll to get an idea about our attendees' current LinkedIn efforts. So please take part in the poll so that our speaker, Bob Rogers, can see how best to help you and we can learn a bit about each other. Okay, I see some people coming in right now. Well, if everyone is ready and comfortable, we shall begin. Welcome to the session on executive branding, dominating your digital presence through LinkedIn at the Small Business Development Center at CBP, a sponsored program of the Mason Enterprise Center at George Mason University. My name is MJ, and I'm here to get the webinar started. To cut down on background noise, please use good virtual meeting etiquette and try to keep your microphones muted so that everyone can hear the presentation. However, if you have a question at any point during the meeting, you can type your question into the Q&A box, and we will periodically present your question to Bob when there's a pause in the presentation. We will stop throughout the presentation to answer questions, but it may not be right away. So please type your questions with enough context so that the instructor can follow up afterward as needed if you don't get them addressed during class. So now we want to learn more about our audience today, and to do so, we're going to take a quick poll. Please select your response from the options provided on your screen and then submit your responses. Okay, let me get the poll loaded. So the first question is, how long have you been in business? The second question is, how many employees do you have, including part-time? Third question is, when was the last time you updated your website? And the fourth question is, do you use social media to communicate with your target audience? So just give everybody a second to finish. Just remember, you have to select an answer for each question in order to submit the poll. It's like people are still coming on, so we'll just leave this the poll open for a little longer. So while you're completing the poll, I just thought I might mention at the very end of our session today, when you sign off on your browser, there'll be a special drawing to receive a free group counseling on what we review today. A handful of clients will be selected, and so if you're interested, you simply fill out the group counseling evaluation form, and then you can automatically enter your name. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. I'll share the results. Looks like 45% have been in business for more than 2 years, 20% for 2 years or less, 10% for a year or less, and then 25% for 6 months or less. How many employees do you have, including part-time? Looks like 75% have 1 to 2 employees, 15% have 2 to 5, 5% have 5 to 10, and 5% have 10 or more. When was the last time you updated your website? It's like 65% was less than 2 years ago, 20% was less than 5 years ago, and 15% haven't updated their website. And in terms of using social media to communicate with your target audience, 55% said yes and 45% said no. Okay, well, thank you for your responses. Now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Bob Rogers. Bob started and ran a government contracting business for 30 years, which he sold in 2015. He was number 250 of Inc. magazine's top 500 rankings of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States. He's won over $100 million in government contracts, and WSI Digital Solutions is his 5th business. He has a BS in engineering from the United States Air Force Academy, an MBA from Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, and is an OPM graduate of Harvard Business School. He was also the Dean of Business for Stratford University and an adjunct professor at Northern Virginia Community College. You can get more advice and tips on social selling and digital marketing by following Bob's company page on LinkedIn. And Bob will be speaking today until 2 and I will turn it over to him now.
Great. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. You power yourself by using LinkedIn's powerful social media tools. I want to express my appreciation to your host, Virginia SBDC, and its director, Vijay Vaswani, for the opportunity to speak to you today. As MJ said, please put your questions in the Q&A box and I'll answer them throughout the presentation. So, what is executive branding? As you can see from the slide, executive branding is about expressing your authentic self to your target audience. Executive branding is not about being famous, it's about being visible to your target market. To figure out what your brand is, you need to know 4 things. You need to define who you are. To begin the branding process, you need to have a clear sense of who you are before you start putting stuff out there on the internet. You want to spot your target audience. The key is to promote yourself to the right people. You want to get to know your competitors. To have a strong brand, you need to know what your competitors are saying and doing within your market niche. And then lastly, you need to craft a personal brand profile. This is an important tool that we'll discuss in the next section. We'll cover all of these items throughout the presentation. So, why do you need a personal brand if you're the CEO of your company? So a lot of you all are in, I suspect based on the profile the survey that you filled out, are in the situation where you're both the CEO or a significant partner in a business. And for small companies, most people see the brand of the company as the same as the CEO. Therefore, the CEO's brand must complement and amplify the company brand. So how do you build a brand? Well, the first thing you need to do is build credibility. Credibility is built through both words and actions. Deliver on what you say, and your credibility will grow. Ultimately, others will give you testimonials and references to support your credibility. Showcase your specialty. What can you do that others can't do? Don't try to be a jack of all trades and masters of none. Differentiate yourself from your competitors. Don't try to be like everyone else, pretty similar to the point before this. Find out what your target market needs and wants and what your competitors are not providing. Deliver those skills which are unique to your experience, your life experience, and your personal characteristics that your competitors don't have. Remember, the one competitive advantage that you always have over your competitors is there's only one you. There's only ever going to be one you. And so you're never going to be the same as your competitors. You just need to figure out what that difference is. Connect to your target market. Try to connect with your target audience as a trusted source to solve their problems. Be empathetic to your target market's needs and connect with them on a personal level. This brings trust to your brand, and trust brings loyalty. All right, what about the other side of the coin? What are the ways to sync your brand? Well, your brand is more fragile than you can possibly imagine. You need to be vigilant in maintaining the standards outlined in the previous slide. One major mistake, especially one you handle poorly, and everything you built will vanish, or could vanish, I should say. So what do you want to avoid? Well, the first thing is you want to avoid letting your brand go stale. Your brand, no matter how well it was crafted, is never done. It's easier to maintain a consistent quality brand than it is to start one. Learn how to stay on the cutting edge with your brand. As MJ told you, I ran a government contracting business for 30 years, and I can assure you from personal experience, it was much harder to keep my business going after it was established than it was to start it. It may sound like an oxymoron, but it's true. Another thing is being inauthentic, looking like a phony. Don't misrepresent your experience or skill set, particularly when you're under pressure and somebody is trying to see if you can do the work. Don't misrepresent yourself because, and don't call yourself an expert unless you are one. Build your brand from a position of strength. That means telling the hard truth about who you are and what you can and cannot do. Losing focus, being scattered with your duties really hurts your brand. Don't try to do too many things at one time. I know as an entrepreneur that's easier said than done, particularly when you're trying to get started. Days and nights blur together. I get it. But try to stay focused on your core competencies. Don't give in to the trap of trying to be successful overnight. Build a solid foundation of excellence and your reputation will grow. Having an unprofessional online image, and that's what we're here to talk about. So you work hard, you do great for your customers, you're authentic and you're honest. And then a new prospect comes along and looks at your LinkedIn profile after meeting you, and you don't have a photo of yourself. There's no description of what you do and the capabilities of your company. And the content doesn't show any past performance that's related to the prospect. In short, you don't have an online reputation. So we're going to get into the steps of what to do about this. But before we do, I want to ask MJ, are there any questions out there?
I do have questions at this time.
Okay. So let's jump into the meat of it. The 4 steps to successfully brand yourself on LinkedIn. All right. The first one is to know your brand. The second one is to communicate your brand within LinkedIn. The third is to build your network with LinkedIn search tools. That's called outbound marketing. And then the fourth is using LinkedIn to promote your brand through social media. That's called inbound marketing. During the remainder of this webinar, we're going to discuss how you use LinkedIn to build your executive brand. Why LinkedIn? LinkedIn is the largest oriented network geared specifically toward professionals. It has 3 key attributes to help early stage entrepreneurs develop a network. It demonstrates your knowledge and capabilities. Having a LinkedIn profile helps you build trust with your prospects and influencers in the market. Secondly, use LinkedIn as a research tool. Having a LinkedIn account means that you can use the site to research companies, prospects, and key hires in your company. And then joining LinkedIn groups. Groups is a great way to connect with your contacts who are in a similar profession or interest. Groups allow you to ask questions, to take part in discussions on current topics of interest to you and your company. All right. So let's go through each one of them. Knowing your brand. So discovering executive branding is the first part of this. Personal branding caught fire when Fast Company magazine ran a cover article called "The Brand Called You" by Tom Peters in 1990, way back in 1997. For those of you who have never heard of Tom Peters, he wrote the book In Search of Excellence. One quick thing, MJ, could you mute, please? Thanks. So he wrote this book called In Search of Excellence, and it was written in 1982, and it remained on the bestseller list of the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times for over a decade. It made him the leading thought leader in the business management world during the latter part of the 1900s. Coming into the 21st century, he saw the shift to the digital economy, which we all are experiencing now, and he figured that executives not only needed to brand their companies, but they needed to brand themselves. His message was very simple. Your personal brand is your reputation. And if you do not define it or nurture it, others will define it for you. All right. Taking inventory of who you are. The best place to start the process of defining yourself is to take an inventory of your personal assets. Ask yourself, what are your values? What are your skills? What's your education? What's your experience? After you've given some thought to all these questions, you should put the answers in a written personal brand profile. But first, I'm going to show you my associate, MJ's, personal LinkedIn profile as an example. And then we'll discuss the template that she used or could use in order to create her profile. All right. So here's some screenshots of MJ's LinkedIn profile. Notice that MJ has a great LinkedIn profile page. She has a professional image of herself. She has a great background image, which kind of is a combination of tech and art, which is what she does. She has her title there. She has where she works right underneath. She also has information about her education and a number of her connections, which is, in this case, 488. If she had 500 or more, LinkedIn only goes up to 500 and shows you just the 500. So, like, for example, I have close to 800 people that I'm linked with, and it only shows 500 plus. Then on the other side, it shows MJ's work experiences, the license she has, and her certifications. And then in the middle section there, she stuck in one of her posts, something that's very important to her, and it's about the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and it's an advocate for peace. So she's given a human element to all of her other content, which is all professional, but she also has shown me her personal side. So this might look easy, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of thought about your brand and what you want to convey to the world. I found that the best way to capture the information in your LinkedIn profile is to develop a personal brand profile template, okay? So let's look at the template that went with her personal profile. So this slide is an abbreviated version of her professional brand profile, but it has the essential components you want in that document. Again, we'll be using MJ's personal brand as this template. So you can see that very talented young lady, graduated from Virginia Tech, all kinds of accolades and awards. Those are the kinds of things that she had to take time to write beforehand. I can't go into all the details because time does not permit. But notice that MJ is a graphic artist by training, and her experiences over her career are varied, and so therefore she's qualified to fill many roles within this company. Also notice that she has taken the time to pursue her passions and volunteer her time to causes that matter most to her. Okay, so I'm now then going to zero in on communicating your brand on your profile. All right, we're going to talk about. So I have two slides. This is slide number 1. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, no problem. So we're going to start from scratch here. If you don't have a no problem. It is very easy to sign up. However, one of the great tools LinkedIn offers is LinkedIn Learning. It is an open course provider of video courses taught by industry experts in software, creativity, and business skills. I would recommend you view the video, quote, set up a new LinkedIn profile account, end quote, before you start. Even if you have an account, I suggest you look at the video for tips on how to improve your profile. Since time does not permit me to go through the details of setting up your profile, I'm going to take this time to share a link with you in the chat. Okay? All right, see if this works here. So look in your chat box and you should see a link there. Click on it and if not now, a little bit later. And that should show you a very interesting video. The video will walk you through the steps to create a profile and to get started on building your network. The slideshow shows some of the key information you will need to set up your profile. Notice that many of the categories are the ones in your personal brand profile that you just saw. Therefore, it's essential that you carefully complete your personal brand profile before you sign up for your LinkedIn account. If you already have an account, then use your personal brand profile to update your LinkedIn account. All right, let's look at the second slide on this issue. Okay, now this goes into the about or the summary section of your profile, and it's one of the most important sections to pay attention to. You should take some time when you get ready to fill this out. Just don't slapdash some quote or something that's just off the top of your head. This is an opportunity to share your accomplishments, but it's also an opportunity to share your value proposition with your target audience. I have found that by answering the questions in this slide, you can tell your target audience who you are and what you do. My summary page, if you go to my LinkedIn page, has each of these 5 questions with answers next to them. That's what's included in my summary section. The first 2 questions give basic information about me, but the next 3 questions tell why I'm different from my competitors and what your customer experience will be if you work with me. All right, so we covered a lot of ground here. So I'm going to stop. I've seen some chatter in the chat. Do we have any questions, MJ? I'm also going to take a drink of water. Yes, excuse me here.
Yes, there was a question. Let me just find it in the chat. There was a student from GMU, from the law school. She was wondering if you help with LinkedIn pages at GMU.
I do not help with LinkedIn pages at GMU. Something probably you need to talk to me offline about. I think you guys have access to my email address. Why don't you just give me an email and we can go from there. Is that all right? Okay.
And one question that I just wanted to answer, so Lisa asked if you'll receive the slides, and you will receive a video recording of a webinar when it's over. That was the last question, Bob.
Okay, good. So we're ready to move on?
Yes, it appears like when I mute myself, the speaker goes a little bit crackly, so I'm going to keep my microphone on.
Okay, sounds good. I saw somebody was having trouble hearing.
Yes.
So hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear.
Yeah, it sounds better when I don't mute for some reason.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So before we get into the details of how to build your network using LinkedIn, we need to discuss outbound marketing versus inbound marketing, because LinkedIn has features that do both types of marketing. Outbound marketing has been the dominant form of advertising until the advent of the digital age. Outbound marketing is direct, interruption-based marketing to get the audience's attention. Hence, that's why you see a horn there. Inbound marketing has been the champion of Brian Halligan and Dharmesh Shah, who are the founders of HubSpot. It relies on digital marketing tools to reach your target audience by educating them and engaging them with content that helps them solve their problems. That's, to show that, we show a magnet. So you're trying to attract people when you use inbound marketing. So I actually have a little video for you, which I'll put it in the chat right now, that comes from HubSpot Academy. Those of you who are familiar with HubSpot know that they are a great company, and they are the champions of both digital marketing and inbound marketing, which I tend to use. However, good marketers use both. Good marketers use both. It's just that if you do not use and don't understand inbound marketing techniques, you're going to start getting left behind in the digital world. Okay? So here is some direct examples, as you can see on the slide, that can compare the different types of marketing from each other. The main point of this slide is that LinkedIn will allow you to do both types of marketing. You can use social media to do inbound marketing, or you can use LinkedIn's messaging capability to directly reach out to your target market. I prefer to use LinkedIn's inbound marketing features. The experienced marketing people, as I told you before, I just said before, use both. So I'm going to turn my head here a little bit to see this slide. So in inbound, you would be using your website. Well, in outbound marketing, the corollary to that would be sending cold emails. Essentially, that's called spamming. Use SEO, search engine optimization, versus cold calling. We use blogs instead of direct mail, and you use social media instead of display ads. And then finally, video content is really starting to compete heavily with being in person at events. Over the course of the years, I've been to so many events, had so many booths, and I wish they had video back in the days when I was doing a lot of this. All right, so building your network with LinkedIn search tools. So we're going to talk about the first one, which is outbound, and LinkedIn. There's a LinkedIn learning video I just gave you will show you how to do that. But the 4 areas that it talks about are managing your network, finding and adding connections, LinkedIn groups, and communicating with messaging. Okay? So, managing your network. You can manage your network by using the quote, My Network tab, which allows you to see who's already in your network, who has pending requests to connect with you, and also who you send invitations to. To get to the heart of your network strategy, some people are open connectors, like myself. Anybody can connect with me. Some people only want to connect with people they know. And then, no matter who you are, you've got to decide which invitation to accept and which invitation not to accept. I get a lot of people want to connect with me. I could have literally, seriously, I could have 2,000 LinkedIn connections easily over the years that I've used LinkedIn. I only have 800, and the reason is that I only accept invitations from people that I think are in my target audience. The target audience includes clients, it includes competitors, it includes people who are influencers, and it includes potential customers or potential employees. So those are the people I really only want to send my content to, because those are the ones that I really that would really appreciate and really care. You may have a different strategy. It doesn't matter what strategy you have, but have a strategy. Make sure you understand that you don't have to accept everyone, and that there is an issue of time and that you're going to need in order to keep up with all of the information that's coming through. Find and add connections. The most common way to add connections is with the LinkedIn search bar. For example, if you met someone at a conference, either in person or online, you can look them up on the search bar. On many occasions, you might find there is more than one person with the same name. Just add information like the company name, and once you reach the profile page, click the connect button. Okay? LinkedIn allows you to send a customized invitation to connect. I always use this to make my invitations more personal. For example, hello, Lori. It was nice to meet you at the conference. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Another way to find connections on LinkedIn is to look at their suggestions. LinkedIn does a good job of recommending people who they believe you'd like to connect with based on your work, based on who you are, and based on who you've already connected with. Remember, LinkedIn has everybody's profile. That's why the profile is so important for you to fill out completely, because it's used by all kinds of people, including LinkedIn. LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups are trusted communities where professionals share interests and experiences and can ask questions, share insights, resources, opportunities, and build meaningful connections. You can access groups through My Network tab. The groups page has a search bar where you can search for the groups based on the specific interest or the skill set. For example, if you're a graphic designer like MJ, you would put in, quote, graphic design, end quote, in the search bar to find groups she may be interested in joining. If she finds one she likes, she hits the, quote, request to join, end quote, button and waits to be accepted. Once in the group, she should be active and participate in posts and put out helpful and useful information and contribute to the conversation. If she cannot find a group that she likes, she can start her own group. All right, last thing is communicating with messaging. Another benefit of LinkedIn is that it is a powerful communication tool. If you connect on messaging using the messaging icon, you will enter into the inbox. You can send and receive messages in your network. You can see who has sent you a message, or you can send a message. Unfortunately, LinkedIn only allows you to use the messaging system for people who you've already connected with. If you want to be able to connect with anyone, you can purchase LinkedIn Navigator. I'm a LinkedIn Navigator member. It is a little pricey, but for me and my business, it's worth it. It's one of the tools that I use to reach out and connect with people that I absolutely want to get to know, but can't find relevant information on. It's a powerful tool that also lets you connect to a lot of different groups and other targeted areas. Messages is a very useful tool because, like email, it gives you running records of the conversation. Also, like email, you can have multiple contacts on one message stream. You can mark messages unread so that you won't forget them, or you can archive the messages. Remember, LinkedIn is a professional network. Try to keep your messages short and to the point. Be thoughtful of other people's time. Moreover, use the tool to add value to a conversation, not just extract information for your own personal gain. And never, guys, really, please, never use it to promote yourself or your products or services. That's not what it's intended for. It's intended to inform and connect. I read a job post. I read a post this morning from one of my people that I want to connect with. I haven't connected with yet, and he announced that his company had just won a multi-million-dollar contract in vehicles, the government contract. That's my target audience. There's nothing wrong with that. What he's doing is he's saying, okay, I have achieved something important I think you guys need to know, and I want you to celebrate it with me. That's different than saying, you know what, guys, I do this and that and these and those for this agency and that agency and these agencies and those agencies. And you know what? I'm the best there is when it is. That's not what LinkedIn is all about. Okay? Now, I was going to try to show you a video, but I think it's just going to be logistically too difficult. So I think it's going to be, and this is on LinkedIn groups. So I think the best way to handle this, to be honest with you, is I'm going to put this link in the chat. This is I think it's my third link now I'm putting into the chat. And if you guys have not gotten it, please let me know.
Bob, just make sure it says to everyone when you paste it in there.
Oh,
I've been putting it in for everybody, but just.
Thank you very much, MJ.
Sure.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Yep, we got it.
Okay, good. So, this video is only 3 minutes and 45 seconds. It will go through and explain to you in much more detail and much easier than if I set up here and droned and start trying to explain it to you. LinkedIn Learning, again, does a great job of doing it. So why don't I stop here again, not take another sip of water before we get into the last part of the presentation, and see if I have any questions.
I don't see any new questions, Bob.
Okay, so we got a lot of good LinkedIn people out there that already know how to use the system. That's great. Don't be afraid to answer questions. One of the things about questions is that you may think that, well, I don't want to get out there because my question sounds silly. No such thing. Odds are somebody else out there already has the same question in their head, and they're relieved that you put the question out there because they're thinking the same thing. So anyway, we're going to move ahead. And so far we've been talking about the outbound methodology, where LinkedIn has all the messaging system and you're communicating out with people and going back and forth. So that's the direct communication. Now we're going to talk about inbound part, and this is just social media, okay? So now that you've made all your connections and developed your network, you must stay connected. So we need to follow the 4 guidelines that I have listed here. Social media is a normal part and way of doing business today. There are almost 4 billion people using social media worldwide. That's 1/2 of the 8 billion people on this planet. If you're not using social media on a regular part of your business or marketing strategy, you're not going to be visible to your target audience. Social media is not free. You must invest some time in it. You need to take courses, do research, post regularly to be successful. However, the best teacher on how to create social media posts is through trial and error. You'll be amazed how fast you'll pick up the best techniques if you regularly post yourself. And social media success takes time. It took me a significant amount of time to learn how to use social media. There's no magic wand, pixie dust, or fairy godmother that's going to come in and help you learn social media. However, there are a lot of courses and technical support offered by the Small Business Administration and their resource partners to help you learn and know about this very powerful tool. So in order to become good at social media, you need to develop a marketing strategy. Time does not permit me to go into detail on how to accomplish all of this, but by using and posting a calendar, it's one of the key components of a social media strategy. And I will go into that. Okay? All right. Oh, but first, before I go into the calendar, let's talk about how you use LinkedIn to network. So, as everybody knows on this webinar, virtual networking is the process of developing social and professional connections online. Virtual networking is not a replacement for in-person networking. The best networkers use both methods to connect with their target audience and also to take advantage of all of the tools that are available to you in virtual networking. So, first thing is, you can virtual network anytime, right? You can go online through a video session or audio session, or you can just communicate asynchronously through social media or through email. You can also do all of these forms of communications anytime. And there's no geographic boundaries. That's what I love about it. You don't have to actually be there in order to communicate or connect with somebody. Start with the people you know. If you're new to networking online, start with people you know. You have already established a connection with them, and you need to connect to the people with whom they are connected. So you're looking to connect first with the people you know, and then you want to try to find out who they know and connect with them. I want you to know that many people who've established relationships don't bother to stay in touch. Make sure you regularly reach out to your original network. So, people are always trying to say, well, I got 200 connections. Now I got 300 connections. Well, yeah, that's good, but it doesn't do any good if you've got a good hardcore. And this is a number of researchers that come up with. People can really only seriously network with about 125 people. Those people you need to make sure you stay in regular contact with, instead of always chasing new contacts. Don't forget about making sure that you stay connected. So, and in this group, I've talked about this before, but I would include clients, I would include influencers. These are the people that are in my group, and the government contractors who are my clients or potential clients. I send out 3 different emails to each group monthly. I reach out to my influencers with a phone call or an email once a quarter, and I meet monthly with my clients. So again, I have all this social media stuff going on. I got a website, but I also have other tools at my disposal. I don't rely on any one thing. But if you're just getting started with digital marketing, a good place to start is social media, and the best place to start for B2B is LinkedIn, particularly establishing your profile. Joining groups. Try to find groups online that share your professional interests and passion. These groups are a great meeting place for people, sharing relevant information and giving a sense of belonging. Provide information on other contacts in your network. This is the best way to network. I belong to the Government Marketing University's Ideation Group. We're an informal group of marketing professionals in the government contracting space. We either give presentations on topics of interest or invite speakers in our virtual meetings to give presentations. Most of our government contracting marketing contacts come from this group. It's a small group. We only meet 30 minutes 2 times a week, and it's just terrific. Now, here's the key. Be patient. As the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. It takes weeks, months, even years to develop a good network of people you can reach out to make sure that you can get helpful information. So in networking, the bottom line of networking is think more like a tortoise instead of a hare. Okay, so I promised you I'd talk to you about a social media calendar. And here it is. So one of the things that plagues a lot of people is time. Just setting aside the time to make things happen. So to be successful in social media, you have to stay active by planning your posts in advance. If you're not posting regularly, you're not visible in your network. And one of the things that happens is we see this with our clients and we see this with ourselves. If you take a week or a 2-week break, the interest level, or you can get off LinkedIn what's called a social selling index, it'll drop. It'll go right back down. And you got to start all over again to build it back up. So it's really important that you stay in regular contact in your posting. So we suggest the following 4 steps in your process. First, create a monthly template calendar. The days on the horizontal axis and the weeks on the vertical axis. Step 2, determine how often to post. You should plan to post at least once a week. Step 3, Remember that you're posting useful and helpful information to your network. If you choose two different platforms to post on, you can use the same content on each platform. Let me say that again. If you choose two different platforms, say like LinkedIn and Twitter, you can put the same content on each platform. You don't have to put different content on different platforms. And that's really the cool thing about social media. And in step 4, you can use curated content along with your original content. Curated content is reposting someone else's content. This is a fantastic way to learn how to post on a regular basis. About 10% of my content is curated. But when I first started blogging, about 90% of my content was curated because I didn't really know how to do it. So that's a great way to start, and it kind of built confidence in what I was doing. And also, I learned from the people whose content I was reposting. Okay? All right, guys. So that's it. That's your presentation for today. So let me go through and summarize what we talked about. So the first thing is we went over what is executive branding. I told you the history about it. I told you about Tom Peters and how he got all this started, and it coincided with the digital marketing boom. And so remember, if you don't take care of your brand and who you are, somebody else is going to define it for you. Then we talked about how to build and maintain your professional brand. Using a brand template is important. Fill out that template first, get everything down, take time, get other people to look at your template, because quite frankly, you may miss some things. You may think some things that you do are really not important, and other people say, yeah, you know what? You should put that in there because it's really something that makes you different from other people, or things you may have even forgot about that somebody may think is important. And then we took you through the 4 steps of executive branding. The first one was, of course, to get to know yourself and your personal brand profile. But then we went on to LinkedIn, and we talked about transferring your personal profile information onto your LinkedIn profile. Professional headshot, layouts, the whole 9 yards. So we wanted to make sure you were clear about that. And then we wanted to let you know that this powerful LinkedIn tool had 2 different ways to reach out. First, through the search tools, which we call outbound marketing, and then through their social media tools, which we call inbound marketing. And we went through that, and we showed you how to use each one of them. And then I dropped in the chat for you a lot of different videos, which I think you can use way after this presentation to refresh yourself and refer to if you want to learn more about LinkedIn. And more importantly, it's going to put you on the LinkedIn Learning site, and there are tons of videos on there, which I think will really, really be helpful to you. Okay, so again, if you enjoyed what you learned today, but want personalized help in getting started, when you sign off, there'll be an evaluation and a group counseling form. So an evaluation form and a group counseling form. If you're interested, simply fill out, make sure you're giving an evaluation form, because I really like to hear about what you have to say about this, because not only does it help me, it will help the other people behind you who will watch some of our webinars. Simply fill out the counseling form, and the VJ will get back to you either today or tomorrow and tell you whether or not you're selected for these workshop groups. You can see on the slide here, there will be 2 workshop groups this month. One on April 20th will be on how to create a personal brand and LinkedIn profile. And then on April 27th, we'll talk about how to use LinkedIn search and social media tools to build your network. Okay? So, are there any final, last questions, comments?
Yes, there are some questions now, Bob.
Okay.
The first one, first one is on LinkedIn. How do you best leverage your own information in the communities that you seek to serve?
Great question. Great question. The first thing you got to do is figure out your target market. And what I have told you before is my target market is government contractors who are, I didn't give you the size, but typically they're past the early stages, but they're not too big to have their own internal digital marketing people. And so what I want to do is to put on my LinkedIn blog posts, or take my blog, I write a blog post and I post it on LinkedIn. And then I also post it on my website. But then I follow up and I chop up my blog post into small posts. So one blog will yield me every month 8 LinkedIn posts and 4 Twitter posts. And I do that every month, like clockwork. Yes, I have help. I'm not Superman. I am to the point now where I have other people that help me, MJ being one of them, obviously. And I have other people that from the outside that work on it. But let me make sure you understand. That's not the way I started out. The way I started out was with a handwritten, with an Excel, not handwritten, with an Excel spreadsheet, and writing my own blogs, mostly from curated content, and forwarding those out and trying to build up some capability and following. So hopefully I answered your question. If I did not, please re-ask the question again.
Okay. The next question. What is the difference between a post and an article, and when to use each?
A post and an article and what?
And when to use each.
Well, an article is in the digital world, we would call that a blog. And a blog can be as short as 250 words. It can be as long as 2,000. The length doesn't matter. What matters is that you covered the subject matter. And the very first presentation that I gave here was on blog posts. So if you want to know more about that, contact the SBDC, and they'll share some information with you on the webinar that I did on that, on how to create a blog post, how to choose a title, and then we had workshops on all of that. So that's a blog. Then a post is something that's much shorter, and they're also stored in 2 different sections on LinkedIn. One is the blogs are stored under which you correctly articulated, article, and the posts are in the post section. And those are the ones that you see running through when you open up LinkedIn and you look at the daily feed. And those are all short, pithy headlines, typically with an image, and they link. And all of my blog posts link to my blog, and all of my blogs are on my website. So this is a way for me to drive traffic from the social media world onto my site. And once they get onto my site, then they can look around, they can see who I am, they can see whether or not there's helpful information on there that can help them solve their problems. That's what I'm trying to do. And if they want to know more, there's what we'll call call to action, CTAs, which help them get more information, or get direct, or you can always contact me directly and get directly on my calendar through a mechanism called Calendly. Hopefully I've answered that question.
Okay. The next question is from Lillian. She says, losing focus is one way to sink your brand, but there's more data showing that social media is a great way to lose your focus. How should we square the circle? There's a very slim line between the social networking and the social not working.
Yeah, Lenny, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I see content on social media all the time, and I have to shake my head and I have to say, what in the world are you thinking? What does this have to do with your target audience? And why are you posting a photo of yourself out on the beach or whatever it is you're doing? How does that help your target market? What does that do for them? Yeah, you can lose focus if you're not disciplined about your content. Again, we've covered this specific topic about what to write and how to write it, and it's a pyramid where in which you go from um, main idea down to topics, and then down to specific posts and messages, and then those posts and messages can go across various platforms. So yes, Leah, absolutely, you can get distracted if you're not disciplined about figuring out who your target market is. And in that webinar, I talk about something called buyer personas. Now, buyer personas are fictional representations of your ideal customers, and I actually show pictures of a government contractor, which is my ideal market, and I think about what does he or she want to know, because it's not about me, it's about them. It's about how can I be helpful to them in solving their problems. So first I have to know what their problems are. Then I have to do research to figure out how to solve those problems. Then I need to blend the combination of my skill set with their problems and come up with content being blogs and posts that speak to my target audience's needs. Okay? You just got a webinar in one answer. So I probably left out a few things, but hopefully I've answered your question.
Okay. And one person had asked if you could go back a couple slides back to the workshop so they can get the screenshot of what the workshops are about and what days they are. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is, can you find virtual groups on LinkedIn?
Yeah, they're all virtual. All the groups are virtual. Everybody is posting, everybody posts short posts, and if you want to put a blog on there, you can put a blog on there. Also, people do, when they get certifications or they get or they have questions, they'll put those out there, or if they win awards, they'll put those in the groups. Yeah, I belong to probably about 10 different groups that I follow, and they're all related to government contracting, and I post in there regularly. Hopefully that answers your question.
I think David had a follow-up question about the difference between a post and an article. What is the significant difference? Not about a personal blog, he said.
Not about a personal. Say it again, MJ.
He said that there are two choices in LinkedIn for a post and an article. There must be a significant difference, not about a personal blog. I think one is just longer than the other. Is that correct? Or there's a different spot for it?
Yeah, I thought I covered this, or maybe I didn't. But the post is something very short, and it's meant to run on your feed, and it typically links to something else, or it could be a standalone. A blog is a longer written piece of information, which sits on your LinkedIn article section, and people would have to go there to look at it. They'd have to be connected to you, then get on your profile, and then go and find it. It's also you'd have to be able to go on the LinkedIn profile and find it. Whereas if you're connected to somebody, posts just run automatically. If you're already connected to somebody, the post that you run will automatically run on their feed. Okay.
Okay, that was the last question.
If I haven't answered your question, give me an email. Send me an email, and we'll try to work it out. Maybe if VJ chooses you, come to the workshop, and it'll all be explained in detail in the workshops.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're up. Time is up, right?
Yes, we're done.
Okay, so listen, I always enjoy speaking to you guys about digital marketing. However, it's really a privilege to talk to business people about the subject. I want you guys to take care, and God bless you on your entrepreneurial journey. All right, take care now.
Bye.